In the headlines tonight,
when you go to Congo, just over the border, you'll find these drugs there.
President Museveni says if more drugs are manufactured in Uganda, the provision of better health care to the population will greatly improve.
436,987 million Uganda shillings to the traders.
Finance Minister Matia Kasaija plans to take Ugandan traders who claim to have lost property in South Sudan war to demand compensation from South Sudan's finance minister.
Pick their children in non-candidate classes for a school break.
Also tonight, the Ministry of Education warns parents against picking learners from school ahead of the PLE week to avoid the spread of Ebola. And in sports, with just a day left to the World Series netball tournament, She Cranes continue to prepare for a game with New Zealand on Saturday. A very good evening to you and welcome to CTV PM Edition. Today is Thursday, the 3rd of November 2022. I hope you had a great day, and let's kickstart off tonight's edition with President Museveni saying that the local production of drugs and vaccines is cost effective as far as the improvement of Uganda's healthcare system is concerned. President Museveni was commissioning a new National Medical Stores warehouse in Kajansi, Wakiso district. Here are the details.
The warehouse has an oxygen plant that can produce 100 cylinders per day, a central vaccine workshop, cold rooms, among other facilities. Museveni says Uganda's main focus should be on the local manufacture of medicines and vaccines and focusing on public health and stopping preventable diseases.
And health would include preventing sicknesses and treating the few that are not preventable. That's what the education should be about. But not specialize in allowing people to be sick and encouraging them to be sick, and then you wait for them in the hospital. This is not. This one it takes a lot of resources unnecessarily.
He asked the managers of national medical stores to fight drug theft because it's one of the causes of poor health service delivery in Uganda.
When you go to Congo, just over the border, you'll find these drugs there. And you will find them in South Sudan. So that's where all of you, partners and friends, need to work together to solve the other issue of the last mile of the drug.
U.S. Ambassador to Uganda Natalie Brown asked Ugandans to get vaccinated for COVID-19 to prevent vaccines that were shipped into the country from getting wasted.
It remains a concern, especially for vulnerable individuals, and vaccines for initial shots and boosters are available and need to be administered appropriately before they expire. As we work together to contain and prevent the spread of the Ebola virus, we cannot ignore the other public health threats.
Moses Kamabare, the general manager of National Medical Stores, says the new facility will improve the availability of quality essential medicine and supplies.
Our current NMS location will remain as a branch that will be dedicated to the surge and emergency operations, especially warehousing supplies for academics and the other non-routine supplies that we handle.
$1 million financing contributed by Gavi, the facility alone will house 7 state-of-the-art cold rooms and 2 freezer rooms. In addition, there will be freezers for ultra-cold chain for vaccines that require that. This will enable the NMS warehouse to offer a 5-fold increase over the storage capacity of the previous NMS warehouse in Entebbe.
Health Minister Dr. Jane Ruth Acheng says there should be no failure in the timely delivery of essential medicines and health supplies to health centers.
To have, in a timely manner, operational funds that are needed for distribution of essential medicines and health supplies to health facilities. This challenge is caused by the inability of national medical stores to timely access operational funds through the integrated financial management information system.
National Medical Stores warehouse is valued at shillings 27 billion. The file was compiled by Shamim Natewa for CTV PM Edition.
The Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Matia Kasaija, has committed to transport all Ugandan traders who lost property in South Sudan war now to the country's capital, Juba, and claims their compensation from state officials. Kasaija, who was appearing before the Parliamentary Committee on Trade and Tourism, was giving an update on the long-standing compensation claims by Ugandan traders. He told the committee that he has verified only 3 out of 160 claimants.
Appearing before the Parliamentary Committee of Trade and Tourism, the Finance Minister, Matia Kasaija, told MPs that the Cabinet Subcommittee, which was appointed to handle the matter, concluded consultations and only awaits Cabinet guidance.
Cabinet authorized the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development to pay the balance upon agreement with GOS on the terms and conditions for the reimbursement of the $41.432 million by GOS. A bilateral agreement spelling out the terms and the conditions was thereafter signed in December 2016. The bilateral agreement was discussed and approved by Parliament in April 2018.
Notably, only 3 claimants were varied by the verification process, which was conducted by Ernst and Young. These include Adriot Consultant International, which claims 1.08 billion, Dot Service Limited, which claims 7.4 billion, and Rock Construction Limited, whose claim is 17.1 billion.
Consequently, the negotiations were held between the government of Uganda and that of the Republic of South Sudan, which resulted into the signing of a memorandum of understanding between the two governments. In the MOU, GOS acknowledged that it owed shilling 56,431 shillings, 987 million Uganda shillings to the traders. Consequently, in January 2011, paid an initial installment of $15 million, leaving a balance of $41.432 million unpaid.
They are all serving, they are working. As we talk right now, all of them are working. And I would expect that the same payment given to my colleague here should be given to me also. So are you going to pay the arrears because you have been paying her and you have not been paying me? It is now time that I'm also supposed to begin to get. Will you pay me in arrears?
These are out of the 160 claimants who underwent an independent verification process with claims amounting to 1.531 trillion. Meanwhile, he said 155 billion was paid to 10 companies by Uganda. He said Uganda has submitted a claim to the government of South Sudan to pay refund of shillings 155 billion, which was paid to the 10 claimants. Kasaija pledged to carry the unverified claimants to his counterparts in South Sudan to make their case before him.
The argument is made to cover an additional 23 Ugandan companies that had claims against the government of South Sudan. The 23 companies listed in Table 1 down below has total requirements amounting to shillings 849 million, and South Sudan pound 36,332,227.
However, committee members questioned how the 10 companies were paid without undergoing verification process and criteria that was used to categorize the claimants.
Really disturbing
the senior minister is breeding ignorance?
I have not talked about ignorance.
That you don't know, that's what it means. I'm just speaking English.
Mr. Chairman, let me be protected.
No.
I expect that any directive being implemented by these agencies is coming right from him. Now he's saying he's not sure what, he doesn't want to give a statement to this committee that he's not sure about. Is he competent enough to be in that ministry? Is he in order to come to this house and tell us that he's not sure what his agencies are implementing and the departments?
In May 2019, the 10th Parliament approved 900 billion to compensate 33 companies which supplied goods and services to the government of South Sudan between 2008 and 2010, but only 10 companies were compensated.
Now, the Minister of Education has warned parents against picking learners from school ahead of the primary leaving examinations next week. Some primary schools are reported to have asked parents to pick learners who are non-candidates from boarding sections. The Ministry of Education officials say the approach is likely to spread the Ebola among school-going children.
It is 44 days since an outbreak of Ebola. The epidemic has since spread to 7 districts across the country. School-going children are among the 130 people that have contracted the disease.
6 of the infected family members are learners. These learners attended 3 schools in Rubaga division.
With 170 contacts listed, the line ministries have since issued strict guidelines to schools, including banning visitations in all the schools. The latest efforts have seen the ministry stop boarding schools from sending learners home ahead of the primary leaving examinations.
Head teachers and managers of all primary schools with boarding sections to desist from asking parents to pick their children in non-candidate classes for a school break.
This follows reports that some schools are asking parents to pick the non-candidate learners. The move is seen as one of the ways in which Ebola can easily spread among the learners.
And after now, communication is going on. Many parents are getting messages. Even myself, I got information that I should pick my children from school. And this is a matter that must be addressed because it's a very urgent issue that can plunge the country into problem. I am seeing a very potential risk that the children who are going in different directions might be affected in the community. And at the same time, those who are going to come back to school might get the infection back in the primary schools.
This is inappropriate and demonstrates lack of appreciation of the current public health emergency arising from the outbreak of Ebola virus disease and the need for effective implementation of the necessary infection prevention and control measures.
The continuous spread of Ebola has been attributed to lack of information, failure by the public to adhere to the standard operating procedures to stop the disease, as well as myths surrounding the disease.
There is a lot of misconception and myths about Ebola. Many of our communities are yet to understand the dangers posed by an Ebola epidemic, and that it can devastate economies and kill an entire village.
All resident district commissioners, chief administrative officers, district education officers, and district inspectors of schools are requested to ensure that primary schools comply with the above directive.
There are also some leaders who have been accused of politicizing the disease.
This kind of attitude and negative talk is very discouraging and may lead to an explosion of cases where we have made progress.
The outbreak epicenter remains Mwende and Kasanda districts, with sub-counties like Madudu, Kiruma, Chikandwa, and Kirwana the most affected. Ramzan Mihire, CTV PM Edition.
The Deputy Chief of Defence Forces, Lieutenant General Peter Elwelu, has met representatives from the European Union at the Ministry of Defence and Veteran Affairs and discussed the need to stabilize the Democratic Republic of Congo. The European Union delegation, headed by the senior advisor to the European Union's Foreign Service on emerging threats in the Great Lakes, Horn of Africa and Western Indian Ocean, Charles Stewart.
Lieutenant General Elwelu and the European Union delegation discussed a range of security issues, especially African Union Transition Mission in Somalia and operations in Democratic Republic of Congo. Elwelu says Uganda is and has always been ready to work with the DR Congo until all various negative forces are defeated. He says DR Congo granted the UPDF freedom and permission to operate in the country to bring activities of the Allied Democratic Forces to an end, while other regional forces will deal with the rest of the armed groups operating in the mineral-rich country.
We need that support, to be honest. We cannot, we shall be able to do it, but they did this some work when M23 was very strong at those days. And
Elwelu says Uganda does not support M23 as he has been alleged by some circles, adding that such a move would threaten relations between DR Congo.
Can we maintain a dialogue where you see us as partners?
He says if the East African Community Regional Forces being deployed in DR Congo decided to fight M23 rebels, it won't take them 24 hours to push the rebels out of the areas they are occupying. The European Union representatives, Charles Stewart, applauded Uganda for the humanitarian work the UPDF has done in the Democratic Republic of Congo over time. Stewart says European Union seeks to achieve a political dialogue and stability in the region with a strategic transitional plan of a roadmap for takeover in Somalia. Ishami Mnatebo Wetendo, CTV, PM Edition.
We take a short break and we'll be right back with more news. To stay with us.
Do you love me?
Very much.
I'll catch you one day. Pants down.
I want to spoil you. I want you to eat my money.
She believes I'm in love with her guy. Will you go? If I had to live everywhere I'm not loved, where would I end up?
The dirty guy hides in the hospital for 40 years, but at night, he walks the streets, commits crimes, and then he comes back and pretends to be paralyzed again.
I will break you, Spooky. Do not answer any question about Roho kwa Roho. It's your brain!
Now showing on CTV. Don't blink.
Hits it in the air. Will that be set?
Recharge your day with Sting. Extreme energy, refreshing taste, available countrywide. Sting, life switched on, from the makers of Pepsi.
Welcome back and thank you so much for staying with us. You're still watching CTV PM Edition with me, Agi Oase, and Isaac Luchamzi on Sign Language. Now moving on, the State Minister for Higher Education, Dr. John Chrysostom Muyingo, has asked schools to desist from administering corporal punishments on errant students because it's one of the reasons why students drop out of school. He says the punishment is the worst form of violence against children.
Although corporal punishments were banned in schools decades ago, some teachers still administer it to errant students. In some cases, the practice has led to the death of some students or lifelong disabilities. The State Minister for Higher Education, Dr. John Chrysostom Muyingo, has once again warned institutions of learning to avoid corporal punishments because it's against the children's rights.
That is against the proper growth and the upbringing of our children. It's true, we still have a lot of violence taking place at home, on the way as their children go to school, and even within the school themselves. But what has come out that we're really concerned as I launch the toolkit is that
he was speaking during a Safe to Learn symposium at Munyonyo. Muyingo says over 35,000 girls got pregnant during COVID-19. He says government has allowed all those who are willing to go back to school to do so.
Mothers, the children themselves, they must be loved and protected. Two, we are saying that as a government, that after somebody has produced because of an accident, they should be enabled to go back into the education system. This is the message we are sending out. I know there are some people who are not happy with this position of government, but I think they are not happy because out of ignorance. These are Ugandans. This is the most important resource Uganda has. They must be given value whenever it is possible. So, if an accident happened, please make all the arrangements to help this child who has got an accident. The child, if he produces, becomes a child mother, and immediately after arrangement should be made to take her back to school.
The ambassador of Ireland in Uganda, Kelvin Colgan, says there is need for a concerted effort to fight against violation of rights in schools.
I would like to underscore the importance of reflecting together and accelerating actions towards a safe learning environment, noting that lessons learned and experience shared will enable us to forge a way forward to safe learning ambitions. Ireland remains committed, but calls upon all partners, government and the key stakeholders, including parents, communities and children themselves, to join the fight.
Ismail Mulindwa, a commissioner in the Ministry of Education, says it's a collective responsibility to ensure that lives of young scholars are protected.
But we also need to emphasize the alternatives to corporal punishment, train teachers how to manage a large class without resorting.
Development goals call on governments to end all forms of violence against children and specifically to eliminate all forms of violence against girls, as well as to build and upgrade education facilities that provide a safe, non-violent learning environment for all.
The symposium was aimed at reflecting on the gains and acceleration action towards a safe learning environment. The file was compiled by Chris Semalemu Semakula for CTV PM Edition.
A total of 30 residents in Bunyoro sub-region have been enrolled on a 3-month heavy machine operators training by China National Offshore Oil Corporation, the company which is developing Kingfisher Oil Development at Buhuka Landing Site in Kikube District. According to the company's local content manager, this is part of the strategies to equip local people with skills to promote local content.
The training that will last for 6 months at Satito Wingi in Chiriatete Cell, Hoima City, will enable locals to attain skills in operating heavy machines, especially excavators and bulldozers. The machinery is currently being used in civil works in the oil industry in the Albertan Graben. According to Alex Katusabe, the Chief Administrative Secretary for Bunyoro Kitara Kingdom, the 30 locals were selected from the 700 who applied from across Bunyoro sub-region, where commercially viable oil deposits were discovered.
The opportunity has come to us, oil has been found in our region, and we need to take all those opportunities, whatever opportunity that comes our way, so that we develop our region.
Matthew Chaligonza, the CNOOC National Content Manager, expressed the company's commitment to skilling and developing human resource in the region. He said the training is an implementation of the national content regulations that were established by the Petroleum Authority of Uganda.
We are also going to make sure that after this training, you register on the National Oil and Gas Talent Register, which is hosted by the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, to ensure that you are visible to the whole world, that you have these skills and you are ready for work.
He says they have plans to train 160 welders, 84 teachers, and 200 small and medium-sized enterprises in the near future. James Okwi, the Skills Development Officer at PAO, said by training the youth in the region, it will empower and expose them to employment opportunities, even beyond the oil industry. Sylvia Nalumaga, the Hoima City Deputy Mayor, says since unemployment among the youth in Bunyoro Kitara Kingdom is partly due to lack of skills, the training is timely.
It's a great opportunity because leading unemployed people, leading desperate people, it's not easy. At times we fail to deliver the services. So thank you so much for partnering with us and for training our own.
She, however, says it's unfair to have only 2 females selected for the training. Hope Nyongereza, CTV, PM Edition.
In our regional news tonight, the United Nations has warned that nearly 8 million people in South Sudan will represent 2/3 of the population are at risk of food insecurity and famine, while South African police are investigating the discovery of at least 21 bodies suspected being illegal miners found near an active mine in the town of Krugersdorp, west of Johannesburg. We have more. The United Nations has warned that nearly 8 million people in South Sudan, or 2/3 of the population, are at risk of food insecurity and famine. A UN report that was released today indicates that hunger and malnutrition are on the rise in flood, drought, and conflict-affected areas of South Sudan, and some communities are at risk of famine unless humanitarian assistance is sustained and climate adaptation measures are strengthened. The joint report by the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, the UN Children's Fund, and the World Food Programme says the proportion of people facing high levels of food insecurity and malnutrition has never been higher, exceeding levels seen even during the conflict in 2013 and 2016. According to the report, 7.76 million people are at risk of acute food insecurity during the lean season from April to July 2023, while 1.4 million children will suffer from malnutrition. South African police are investigating the discovery of at least 21 bodies suspected of being illegal miners found near an active mine in the town of Krugersdorp, west of Johannesburg. According to police, 19 bodies were discovered on Wednesday afternoon and 2 more were discovered on Thursday morning. Police said they suspected the bodies were moved to the location where they were found, which is a privately owned mine. Police spokeswoman Brenda said that they discovered 2 more bodies today. They retrieved them from an open shaft, and the grim discovery is the latest in a series of incidents related to illegal mining in Krugersdorp area. The incident sparked violent protests against illegal miners in surrounding communities. And elsewhere in the world, Pakistan ex-Prime Minister Imran Khan has been shot and wounded at a protest march, while Iranian security forces have opened fire on crowds near Tehran, making the 40th day of mourning for a woman shot dead while protesting. Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan has been shot and wounded in the leg in an attack on his protest march in the eastern city of Wazirabad. A senior aide told a news agency it was an attempt to kill him, but police are yet to confirm that he was the target. Members of his PTI party said another 4 people were hurt in the shooting. Khan was leading the march on the capital, Islamabad, to demand snap elections after he was ousted in April. The former Prime Minister was seen being taken to a hospital in Lahore. A party spokesman said he had been hit in the shin. Another party leader, Provincial Health Minister Yasmin Rashid, said Khan was in a stable condition. Police released a video confession of a man they arrested, who they say had attempted to kill the former Prime Minister. Iranian security forces have opened fire on crowds near Tehran, marking the 40th day of mourning for a woman shot dead while protesting. Authorities shut a cemetery and blocked roads to stop people reaching the grave of Hadis Najafi, who has been a symbol of the unrest engulfing Iran. Videos showed thousands walking along a highway to reach the cemetery in Karaj and shouting anti-government slogans. We take a short break and we'll be right back with news from the world of sports. Do stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching CTV PM Edition with me, Agi Oase, and Isaac Luchamzi on sign language. Now moving on to the world of sports. With just a day left to the World Series netball tournament, the She Cranes continue to prepare in New Zealand, where they landed on Monday. The She Cranes opened their account with a game against hosts New Zealand on Saturday.
The She Cranes will have their first taste of the first 5 World Series in New Zealand this weekend. This is the first time Uganda is participating in the tournament after the team was ranked 6th in the world. Head coach Fred Mugera says they are ready.
What I know, the team is going to put up a very nice challenge to those people who have been playing it, although this is our first time. But I have that great faith in our players that they will do the needful, at least to upset some teams.
Mugera says they have mastered the rules of the game.
As we left to Kampala, we had done a bit of training and also gone through the rules. And as I talk now, right now, what we are doing is also to go through the rules and to perfect on our long shots, which I think today we have done perfectly well.
The She Cranes will use the tournament to prepare for the World Cup next year as they come up against the top 5 best teams in the world. Uganda Netball Federation President Sarah Kityo says stakeholders and well-wishers should team up to acquire a home stadium in order for the country to attract such big tournaments. Uganda will have a busy Saturday and they will play in New Zealand at 2 p.m., Jamaica at 4:30 p.m. and England at 9 p.m. On Sunday, the She Crane will conclude their tournament by playing 2 games against Austria and South Africa.
We've come to the end of CTV PM edition. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Agi Uwase with Isaac Luchamzi on site.